Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar about half double and research. I'm Per Svejvig and I'm from Aarhus University. This seminar will be presented by Anna Gerstrøm Rode and me, and I will introduce the seminar in few minutes. First of all, the agenda for this about 1 hour seminar is an introduction where I will explain how we'll run the seminar. Then we will take a brief discussion about what you know about half-double methodology. Then I'll continue presenting overall research results from Project Half Double, the research results we have so far after 5 years research. So I think we have quite many. And of course, we can't go into depth to all of this in such a short webinar. Then Anna will take over and explain a specific case and go into depth with a specific case. This is LINAC, and it's about an industrial robotics project which has been using half-double methodology. And Anna will explain more details about what was the result from this project, how did we compare with other projects, etc. After Anna's presentation, we will have a Q&A session where you'll get a chance to come up with all the questions you might have about half double and the research results we have from half double. And finally, I will end the seminar by looking the way forward, to saying what is the way forward seen from a research point of view. So I will dig into the introduction part. But before that, I think it's right that you hear a little bit about Anna and myself. So Anna, would you please say something brief about yourself and your involvement in half double?
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Gerstrøm Rode. I'm working at Department of Management on Project Half Double, and I've been involved since 2016, the end of 16, beginning of 17. And I think that's it for now.
Yeah, and I'm Per Svejvig, and I've been at Aarhus University since 2007. I've been involved in half double from the very beginning in 2014, and I've been research responsible for the project the 5 years it has been run as a formal project. I think this more or less gives an introduction to Anna and myself. So I think it's time to move on. First of all, a little bit important issues about the webinar. We recommend that you turn off your microphone and video because we will use a Mentimeter for communication with you as participants. Then I also want to make sure that you know this webinar will be recorded, so you know it's available afterwards and it will be public available. We will use Mentimeter for this webinar, and you can either use the app, which you can have on your smartphone, or you can use the web page www.menti.com. So there's two ways you can use Menti. Then we will finalize with this Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please keep your questions ready for the final part of the webinar, and Anna and I will see and try to answer as many questions as possible. Then something about research. There's always limitations and uncertainty in research, and that does also count for Project Half Double research. So if you're interested in what is the limitations, what are the uncertainty, then we'll refer you to our latest report, which were published back in summer 2019. And the last slide in this presentation has a reference to this report, and it's available on the Half Double Institute homepage. So it should be quite easy to find the report. And if you're in doubt, then you can always contact Anna and I. But we'll not go into details about what is the limitations and the uncertainty in this brief seminar or webinar. Then let's start the professional part of this webinar. when we say half-double methodology, we mean this circle shown here, where you have 3 core elements: impact, flow, and leadership. You have 9 methods, you have 9 tools, and in the outer layer, you have local translation, which means that you should try to adapt the methodology to your own organization and your own projects. We expect more or less that you know half-double methodology. Maybe not in detail, but at least have heard about it. So we will not go into depth about what is half-double methodology. There has been other webinars in this webinar series where you have got a chance to know something about half-double. And I also think that many of you know something, or some of you might even know a lot about half-double. So this is not the focus for this seminar. We just say when we mention half-double methodology, we mean the circle up here with the 3 core elements, 9 methods, 9 tools, etc. But to give us an expression about what you know about half-double methodology, we have a small Mentimeter question to you. So please either use the app for Mentimeter or go to menti.com and use the code 515082 and answer what competence level you think you are on for half-double. You can be a novice, advanced, beginner, competent, proficient, or expert. Okay, we have 1 expert. Good start, good start. So let's see how many. There must be more than, yeah, advanced, beginner, yes. 1 novice. 2 novices. And I know there's more than 11 participants, so hopefully there will be 6. Okay. I'll just give you 15 more seconds, and then I will move on. I think there's more than 14, so there's still a chance to enter your level. But at least I think we more or less can conclude from this small poll or survey that there's most of you who are novice or advanced beginners. So I think I will continue from now on. So I'll go back to the presentation here. And I'll start to talk about what is the overall results of the half-double methodology. First of all, when we started half-double, we said to ourselves, what is the objective of doing half-double? And we said the objective with half-double was to define a project methodology that can increase the success rate of projects while increasing the development speed of new products and services. So we both want to accelerate projects and we want to increase the success rate. So that's quite ambitious. So that's what was our outset when we started half-double back in 2015. Then during the first 4 or 5 years, we have been involved in 16 different projects where we have tried to use half-double methodology. So you can see a lot of names up here: Grundfos, Coloplast, Siemens, Lego, Therma, SAS, Linak, Food Service Denmark, Novo Nordisk. A lot of companies, some you probably all know, where we have been involved in different kinds of projects. From a research point of view, it has been Aarhus University who has been responsible for the research, but we have also involved the Danish Technical University and Copenhagen Business School, or CBS. And then there has been a lot of practitioners also involved in Half Double, and they have been involved in different co-creation activities. For instance, the book about Half Double has been a co-creation activity. But let's see, what results did we get from an overall point of view? First of all, we ask ourselves, to what degree has the project fulfilled the success criteria of the project? So here we measure how successful the project has been based on the defined success criteria. And the result is here that 87% of the pilot projects has fulfilled or partly fulfilled the success criteria of a project. And we think that's quite good. And it's important to remember here that success criteria for the projects is could easily include effects, KPIs like increasing quality, increasing sales, reducing errors in a system, etc. So it's also outcome measurement. And typically there are 10 to 15 different KPIs which we are measuring. So that was one of the objectives, to what degree can we increase projects. And I think the success rate of 87% is better than industry standards, although it could be difficult to compare with other standards like the Standish Group, which has submitted different kind of success measures. The other point is, to what degree has the Half Double methodology contributed to higher performance than comparable projects in the same organizations? This is where we ask the question, can we accelerate projects in the given organization? And the only way that we can, what should I say, measure that we, I don't know what I should say, measure whether we accelerate a project is to compare it with comparable projects. And we have compared the project we have been running in a given organization with typically 3 other projects in the same organization. And the result is here, around 63% is performing better than comparable projects in the same organization. And typically we measure on different parameters, for instance, improving quality, and then we compare what the quality improvement has been with other projects. You will later see the example from LINAC, which Anna will present for us. Then if we take the 2 dimensions and put them together, then we have a matrix here where the x-axis of the matrix is success criteria, and the y-axis is to what degree have we been able to accelerate projects. There's one who has the microphone on. Can we ask the person to mute the microphone? Please mute your microphone. So we have these 2 axes. We have the ability to accelerate, and we have the success criteria. And if we map all the projects on this matrix here, then you can say if it both accelerate project and fulfills the success criteria, then we can see some improvement from using Half Double methodology. And we can say all the green projects are in what we call the sweet spot, where we think it's relevant to look at how to use Half Double methodology. That's where Half Double methodology has shown to be successful. We also have to realize that we have 4 projects shown with the red projects down in the left lower corner, which were not successful. So of course, Half Double is not the holy grail. Half Double works on some projects and it doesn't work on other projects. So if we take a look at these projects which are green, and we have one that's yellow, that's due to that we have missing data for this yellow project. We simply don't have the dimension about accelerating project. But if we focus on the projects here, which are green, then we can say what is the characteristics of these projects? Why are they in what we call the sweet spot? And here we have tried to look into these projects and see what is the what does these projects express. First of all, which kind of project types are we talking about? And we can see that supply chain projects, warehouse projects, production projects. Here, half-double methodology fits nicely. We have a lot of examples here where it works pretty good. Then it also worked within the IT project, e-commerce, information system projects area. And I think that's quite natural. We have been seeing that these agile hybrid methodologies work in this area. So this is more or less just a confirmation of what we already know. Then it also worked within market and product development area, organizational change, industrial robots. So at least within these areas, it seems to work. We can also say, going back to this slide, that some of the red projects which doesn't work is what you can call large engineering projects. Here we haven't been able to get so good results. So there are some areas where half-double methodology works and other areas where it doesn't work so well. We've also been looking at what is the duration of the projects where it works, and that's about 4 to 18 months. And relating to project complexity, and here we use the IPMA scale 1 to 4, which some of you might know if you are certified IPMA project manager. Then the range here is between 1.3 to 3.9, and mainly between 1.8 and 2.4, which I will call large, medium complexity project, which are the types that we have been running with half-double. So now you have an understanding of how successful is a project, what is the ability to accelerate project, and finally what project types has been working and has been performing good using half-double methodology. Then I will run to the next Mentimeter scoring, where I would like to know how successful are the projects in your organization. So I'll just move on here. So now you need to score how successful are projects in your organization. And of course, it must be your best guess. So it's more or less just what you think it is. Okay, it looks like that we have a mean around 25 to 50%, which confirms what I think industry measurements also say. So it's difficult to get up to 50 to 75%. But again, be careful about this discussion, because how do you measure whether a project is successful or not? So it's a difficult discussion. So I think we have simplified the discussion very much here, but at least it gives a very coarse indication of things. Then I'll go back to the presentation here, and I will hand over to Anna, and I'll give her the control of the presentation. So now, Anna, you should be able to do your presentation about the Lina case.
Yes, thank you, Per. And we have added some nice drawings here on the screen. Or is that just my screen with these black and red drawings? I don't know what happened, but we can manage. We will do with them in the presentation. And it is now about LINAC, which we have included in order to give you a, oh, there was a yellow one, a picture of what goes on behind the scene. So in order to give you a view of the research process behind all the facts and figures that Per presented, we will now zoom in and and zoom in and go through the LINAC case. So let's see if I can. Yes, I can. Jump to the next slide. So LINAC is a pilot organization headquartered at ALS, as you can see in the picture, employing 1,200 employees in Denmark and more than 2,000 globally, and represented in 35 countries, and having production facilities in and outside Denmark. What they do is that they create electric linear actuator solutions in order to create movement in a variety of different applications, from healthcare industry. You see an example down here of a hospital bed, and agriculture, comfort furnitures, and office interior, like for instance the desk that many of us has in our office that you can lift up. And this is where the pilot project is located. Let's see if I can jump slide. It's a little bit slow, but hopefully. Yes, there we are. The pilot project in the pilot organization, LINAC. The scope is specification, design, sourcing, installation, and commissioning of a robot-based automated cell in the production facility. And the answer to the why question is to increase production capacity. In this case, it is to triple the capacity in the production. And what more is that this pilot project is a response to learnings from 5 earlier automation projects. And this is important because what they've learned in the earlier projects is, among other things, that it takes a lot of time to install this robot-based automated cell. And they want to increase the time spent on the project. And that is their motivation for engaging in half double. And therefore, they implement the half double methodology to reduce the time spent. It is also important for another thing, and that is, it is sort of like the ideal case to show, because we have 3 reference projects that are earlier attempts to do the same, which is visible if we turn to the next slide. Here, showing you the methodology behind the half double research. It is a multiple and comparative case study, meaning that we have different projects within different organizations that we compare. And we want these comparison projects to be as similar as possible to the pilot projects. So in this case with LINAC, where they have sort of like the same project just in another cell earlier on, it is kind of like an ideal setup from a research and methodology perspective. So this figure basically shows you that when we go into one organization, we have the pilot project where the half double methodology is implemented. And then we have a pool of reference projects. Preferably, we have 3 reference projects. So this is how it looks in most of the pilot organizations. We have 1 pilot project and then 3 reference projects that are as similar as possible to the pilot project. And one could argue, well, all projects are unique, so it doesn't make sense to compare. And you can say, yes, that is true, but it is also true that some projects are more similar than other projects. And here it is our goal to kind of create a reference group, or you could say a control group, to which we can compare the single pilot project that you could say, give the half double medicine, in order to say, well, if everything else is equal besides the practices which are infused by the half double methodology, we can see, it makes sense to conclude that we can see if the performance of the projects are different. It makes sense to infer that the reason they are different comes from the practices, hence the methodology. Yes, and that is the setup, but we also need to get data in order to confirm if this is actually the case. So what we do is that we collect data on a lot of different parameters, among others these 4 proxies that you see here: project resources in terms of hours, project cost in terms of money, here measured in Danish crowns, and then 3 proxies from the diamond model, including novelty, pace, and technology, and then finally complexity, including environment, tasks, and organization. And then we score all the projects, so the pilot project and the 3 reference projects, on these proxies. And then finally, we derive one composite proxy for every project. So we say, when we look at these 4 proxies, how is this single project compared to the other projects? How large and comprehensive and complex is it compared to the others? And here we can see that the pilot project scores 3, which is a medium score, so 2 and 3 would be medium. And that is, of course, an optimal solution from the research perspective. We wouldn't prefer that the pilot project is very small or the biggest project compared to the reference group, because then a lot of other circumstances could explain the performance difference that we see. So this is a very good example of a perfect case, you could say, in the research perspective, because the pilot project scores medium 3. So, good. When we have that under control, we look at 2 things. So, time and impact. Here you can see the time of the pilot project, which is measured in days. So it runs for 321 days. And you can see the time spent in the 3 reference projects, which last from 354 days to 465 days. So, based on these data, we conclude that the pilot project has the shortest time, is the fastest project. Then we look at impact, because that is the objective of the half-double methodology, to increase speed and impact. And in this case, we have measured impact based on perceived performance on 9 parameters. So these 9 parameters are identified together with the project owner and manager in the organization who knows the pilot project, but also the reference project. So they have, together with us, identified 9 parameters which are important not only for the pilot project, but also for the reference projects. And then we've made this focus group interview where we've discussed how does the project score on these parameters. And you can see that the dark line here is the pilot project, and that outperforms the 3 reference projects on 7 of the 9 parameters. It has the highest score on all except from 2 where a reference project score as high as the pilot project. So based on these data, we conclude that the pilot project has the highest impact. And that is the relative comparison. Then we also do an absolute comparison. So we look at the pilot project in itself, because also referring to the half-double objective, which is to increase the success rate of projects in Denmark, we want to look at the success criteria and to what degree they are fulfilled in this project. So here you can see the 4 targets, the 4 success criteria identified, and here you can see the status of the project when it is ended. Now I'll not go into detail, but show you the conclusion. So based on a evaluation of the status of the project when it is ended, it is fair to conclude that the pilot project fulfills some of its success criteria. So taken together, we have these two perspectives. We have the relative performance, and we can see that the pilot project is both faster and has more impact than all three reference projects. And then we have the absolute perspective, where we see that the pilot project fulfills some of its success criteria. And that is the two dimensions. So now I can take you back to the picture. Per presented this matrix and tell you that this is why we place LINAC up here, because on the horizontal axis we have the success criteria and they are partly fulfilled, which means it is here in the middle. And on the vertical axis we have the accelerating, the degree to which the project is able to accelerate. And here it scores high, so it has high impact and it is faster than the reference projects. And that is why we place LINAC up here. And showing you this, we basically go through an internal benchmarking. So we look at projects within the same organization and compare them to external benchmarking, where we here look at different projects in different organizations. So hopefully this gives you a picture of the research process and data behind the results. And with that, I can now give back the word and mouse to you here. So
yes, I have taken back the control of the presentation. And now we have been through some overall results about half-double project and the half-double methodology. And Anna has shown you how we work with a specific case and why we position a specific case on this matrix or figure that she just showed us. Now we will run into a Q&A session where you have a chance to ask us questions about the research we have done and the question whatever you want to do. So I'll just switch to Mentimeter again, and here you will be able to ask questions. So now you can just start asking questions, and Anna and I will start answering the questions which are popping up on this screen from using Mentimeter. So just go ahead with your question and we will see how many we can answer. Hopefully you have some questions to our research. So please go ahead. Okay, yes, I can go back to the presentation and show you this, and then we can go back to, I'll just show you just a minute. I'll go back many slides. Yeah, so the project types which were successful were supply chain, warehouse, production projects. It was IT project, e-commerce, these more soft projects. It was market and product development projects, organizational change, industrial robots. And if we look at the projects, the red projects which were not successful, it's generally about large engineering projects, for instance, Grundfos making a new pump was one of the cases which didn't work out. Novozymes, it was an innovation project which they stopped because the new enzyme they developed were not successful enough on the market. So these are the considerations about which project types works and which not works. I also have to say that we are seeing more project types which works on half-double methodology, but we're not finalized the research with these projects. So that will be documented in later report. And we will publish a new report in first quarter of 2021, where we'll present some of the newer results. Then I'll go back to the Q&A session.
Yeah, maybe you could go back just to add a few comments.
Yeah.
Because we also had Siemens wind power down there.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's also a large construction project.
and what is also common among these two projects is that they are larger projects compared to the other projects. So size also matters. And you could also say, Pierre, that they are the first projects in this experiment. So maybe that also has an explanation in it.
Yeah, there could be many explanations. And maybe I should take the other questions about, have you handled an eventual Hawthorne effect? And the answer is no, we can't handle that, because it's clear that if you go into an organization, you come with consultants and you come with researchers, then of course you will have a kind of a Hawthorne effect on the projects. So the answer is no, we can't handle the Hawthorne effect, and I'm quite sure there is some kind of Hawthorne effect. But on the other hand, we can see that the project works. So other organizations could also involve consultants to help them do projects if they want to do, and if the project is important enough. But that's quite right to say the Hawthorne effect is one of the things we already have specified in the limitations in the report we have published last summer. Then there is another question over here. It's, do you have any results linking the different elements of the methodology to the time or impact result that it does? Let me see, that it does one of the elements. Yes, we have. Yeah, we have some more detailed results about how things are related to different practices and to the different areas within impact flow and leadership. We didn't have time to do it today, because then we should have focused mainly on the practice part. But in fact, we're doing different kind of statistical analysis. And if you, for some reasons, are interested in these results, please write and mail to me, and then we can take a meeting, an online meeting, where I can explain it more in details. We simply don't have time to do that today, but we have results in that area as well, yes. Then
yeah, just briefly, remember from the high-level research finding brochure we published, is it last year or the year ago? I think it was 2018. We could see, based on the results that we had at that time, that we had all three core principles as represented as powerful practices, meaning that they were in the successful projects. So both from core, from impact, and from flow, and from leadership. So that is a result telling you that maybe you can't take just one of the elements, but we need to have all three.
And we can also say that the report we'll publish in Q1 2021, there will be a chapter about more statistical analysis of all the practices and how they relate to the different kind of projects. So we are certainly working on that area. Then there's another question in the middle here saying the half-to-double project scored on 2 of 7 parameters, the same as control projects. Can you elaborate? I think that's a question to you, Anna.
Yeah, so the half-double project scored
on 2 of 7 parameters is the same as control projects. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so what we saw was on 7 of the 9 parameters, the pilot project outscored the reference project. So it scored higher on 7 of the 9 parameters, and then it scored equal on 2 of them. So in 2 cases, 1 reference project, which is not the same, so it is 2 different reference projects, scored as high as the pilot project. And the reason for that scoring, I can't go into detail now, but if you're interested, write me an email and we can dig into it more.
Then there's a question saying, are the projects cross-evaluated between companies? I'm not sure what you mean about cross-evaluate, because the way we do it is that we have a standard evaluation template which we use for all projects, both the projects which has been running half-double methodology and the projects which has just been done the normal way in the company. So it's exactly the same way. We're using the same protocol or procedure for evaluating all the projects. And I think as we speak, we have more than 70 projects which are evaluated. So the cross-evaluation is done through that we are systematic using the same evaluation template and evaluation method on the projects. I'm not sure I understand your the question right, so you might elaborate your questions more if you don't feel that I have answered it specifically enough. That's all right. Then,
not like we compare projects from different organizations. So we only compare the projects within one organization. So this pilot project that you just saw from LINAC is not compared to reference projects in other organizations.
No, that's not the case. But we compare all the pilot projects in the overall scheme. You just saw the figure that both Anna and I showed. Then there is a question saying, Niels Arngaard has described half double as an agile methodology in an interview that one of my students did, expanding that he saw it as building on the agile manifesto. Do you agree with this description? Both yes and no. I think I would call half double a kind of an agile hybrid methodology, because I think it takes some parts from agile thinking, especially the flow dimension in half double is related to what you say, agile manifesto and agile thinking. But the thinking about a project manager, a project owner is more traditional project management. And I think I'm right now working on a paper together with a colleague where we're digging further into all the practices, and we are comparing them with both classical practices and agile practices. And I would say you can find elements of classical project management and agile project management. That's the reason why I say it's an agile hybrid methodology. I think it's skewed against agile thinking, but there's still also some traditional elements in half double methodology. So I think that's the best way I can express it. And also this discussion about is it agile methodology or not, I think it's a kind of a religious discussion. I think what is interesting is what works in the organization. Which kind of practices should you use so your projects are successful? That's the important question you need to ask, not whether it's agile or not agile or classical or not classical. That's at least my point of view related to that. Yes, any further questions? There's still time for more questions. But there doesn't have to be more questions, but anyhow, if that's not the case, I think I'll go back to, okay, see chat. Okay, I'll just see chat. How do you rate the risk that the success rate of the project could be caused by parameters that you have not considered? That's absolutely a case. It's difficult. It could be due to many issues that a project, what should I say, is successful. And we are fully aware of that. It's probably not only that you're using half double methodology. There could be a lot of contextual factors. But I think we can't come closer to it than trying to compare the projects with similar projects in the same organization. So that's the best way we can try to come to a classical experiment in a scientific way. So, but I agree with you. We can't say for sure. We can't talk about a causal relationship between the practices and successful projects. That's one of the limitations which you always see in these social science comparisons that we are doing. Yeah. Then there's, let me see, there's one. Have you tried to use half double in your own research projects? Yes, we are using half double every day in our research projects. And the experience is that we can use half double in our research projects as well. There's nothing in half double which hinders us from using it. Again, it's very important in half double to look at local translation, where you translate the half double methodology into the specific circumstances you have in your organization and your projects. But the whole half double project phase 3 is using half double itself. And we're using Miro, for instance, for visual planning. And it works quite well, and it works quite well for research projects. Yeah. although we haven't researched it, it's still, I can just say from our own experience that we can use it without any problems. Yes. Have you evaluated the impact of half double on project portfolio? Yes, that's another discussion. I think that it's, that's more question. I'll take the questions about, have you evaluated the impact of half double on project portfolio management? And the answer is not really. We have some initial evaluations about the portfolio level, but we don't have the same kind of, what should I say, expanded research results as we have on the project level. And I also think that you have to understand that on the portfolio level, my take would probably be that not all projects in the portfolio could be run in half double projects. You have to select the projects which are probably most important for you and then run them as half double, because that's where you really need to have success and you really need to accelerate the project. That would be my take. But again, I have to state we don't have this, we don't have any specific research results. That's more the way I see it from the involvement we have more generally. Yeah. Okay. I think we more or less have covered the questions that
there's one there, Per. Do you have any results linking the, no, not that one. Do you evaluate what, do you evaluate what level of project methodology the organization has before? It would seem obvious that putting half double on top of a low non-methodology and a very well-developed methodology would give different results.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, we don't see half double as a standalone methodology. We see half double as a methodology which merge into the practices you have in your organizations beforehand. So we don't see half double as a standalone methodology. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you're quite right. There could be many reasons why things work, because an organization which has a higher maturity in doing projects will probably also have a higher success rate using half double methodology. So you're right. There are so many things which could impact why things are successful or not successful. So yeah. It's something we have touched it a bit, but we haven't been able to go into depths. In fact, we would be able to go into more depths about this point if we want to, but we haven't done it so far. Maybe a good idea for our next research report. Thank you for this input. Left column. Okay, I think we more or less has covered your questions. So I'll switch back to the presentation from this Mentimeter. I'll just have to move ahead. Then I will just try to end this presentation by trying to explain a bit about what are we doing research-wise with half double in the next 2-3 years. First of all, we are trying to stimulate the diffusion and adoption of the half double ecosystem in Denmark, regionally, in Europe, and globally. So we are heavily involved in the diffusion and adoption, and we try to follow how half double is diffused and try to get some research result about that. For instance, we are planning a big survey to be sent out in the autumn where we want to hear what our organization's doing with half double, and that will also be part of the report we'll publish in Q1 2021. Then we focus on facilitating international research collaboration to fuel the half double ecosystem. So we are discussing with international researchers how can they see half double, and how can we work with the, what should I say, stimulating research perspectives and things like that. And finally, we are working with a new area where we are considering how we can, what should I say, adapt half double methodology to climate projects. So half double climate, where we both want to focus on sustainability and agility at the same time. And I think that's quite a new area where we all need to dig very much into. So there's a lot of research going on, and you can follow what we are doing on the Half Double Institute webpage. All our reports will be published here. You can always contact Anna and myself. You can find our names on Aarhus University website. So I think that's more or less our presentation for today. Thank you for joining this session. Thank you for all your good questions. As I said, this webinar is being recorded, so you can see it again. And you will also receive the slides and the Mentimeter discussion from Danish Project Management Association. So you should be able to get the things we have been discussing here. So I think the last slide is that we hope to see you soon again in another event. So thank you for joining this.